time to talk about a tarot card that scares not just tarot readers but their clients as well. Yeah, you guessed it, the Death card. Ooh, it's a scary one, isn't it? Now, the problem is that many tarot readers, they might charge money, but they're amateurs in many respects because they use a tarot spread that's designed to give significance to the cards that show up. Now, when a death card appears in, say, the Celtic Cross spread anywhere, they'll say, oh, well, death doesn't have to mean death, it can mean something else and things like this. Yes, but they're using a tarot spread that means that those top 10 cards are the most significant cards in the reading. Why? Well, when the client shuffles the cards and cuts them, however they do it, the tarot reader will deal the top 10 cards into the 10 positions: past, present, future, career, love, work, get the other ones. So those 10 cards are the most significant cards of the reading because that's what this spread is designed to give you. So they can't say it's not significant because they made it significant because that's why the cards are there. So it is significant and it does mean death as well as other things. Before we go into those things, why don't I have a problem? Because I use all 78 cards in a reading. I don't read all the 78 cards, but they are all there in front of me for the reading. Now, so let's think about this Celtic Cross spread again. So, 10 cards out of 78. Now, if we make it 80, 10 out of 80, that's a 1 in 8 chance that the death card or any other card will be in those 10 cards. And it's just taking those top cards, so you make it even more significant that that 1 in 8 is in those 10. Now that's the problem, and that's why they're fearful of it. And you don't have to be such a scaredy cat about this card. After all, it's the one guarantee we have in life, isn't it? And you have to understand about these things. When I see the death card, I usually give 3 alternative interpretations of this card, basically. One is death, one is sex, and one is money. 2 out of 3 isn't bad, is it? But everyone focuses on the death card. And sometimes people come to me for reading, and they say, I don't want to hear any bad news. So I say to them, well, you're going to die one day. And they look at me, oh my God. And they go, oh yeah, of course, no, I'm going to die one day. And they say, oh, we're not supposed to talk about death, are you? Well, we are, because death is part of life. It's a strange thing, because people say, oh, you're not determined when to die. Think about it. If I say to you, my client, that they're going to die, if they don't die, they're going to spend all the time worrying about me saying they're going to die. Bad news for me, bad news for them. And if they do die, they won't come back anyway. I just basically look stupid if I say to someone they're going to die soon. Because if they don't, they say, oh, you told me I was going to die, and look, I'm still here. So, how do we get out of this conundrum with the death card? It's, in my system, we use the opening of the key spread, where all 78 cards are present, and I cut them into 4 piles. And the death card, even if it's in the main earth pile or the future pile, it can be covered up mostly. And people don't see it, and they see it in the context of all these other cards that are there. So, let's think more a bit about this death card. The fear of death is something that's about your beliefs about where you die. Some people think you just want to throw it in the ground. Some people think you go to heaven. Some people think you can go to hell. Some people think there's nothing, it's just oblivion, you just gone. All these kind of positions and situations have problems. If you think there's nothing, then it means there's nothing to live for, and it creates a kind of depressing outlook on life. If you go to heaven or hell, then there's a judgment about how good or bad you've been, and then of course it says, well, what about babies who die? They haven't done anything wrong. What happens there? I see so many people who come for a reading, and the interesting thing is actually in a tarot reading, is where I get the opportunity to talk about death, because I often notice that just above the left shoulder of my clients, I often see spirits or entities there, and they're usually relatives, particularly grandparents. Grandparents in general have this kind of unconditional love for the grandchildren. So I often ask people, where do they think people go when they die? And a lot of people have got past heaven, hell. It must be somewhere else out there. And they're right, it is. But the problem is, you don't see them out there. You see them in your heart. That is where people generally see anyone who's passed on. You see them in their heart. And they see them not how they were when they died. They see a younger version, a happier, healthy person who doesn't age. We get old, we get wrinkled, things fall off, we die. But that person we see is still young, youthful, and his grandparents or an older person, they'll always see them as an older person. But in general, see them as a younger person. So, death is fatal, but we don't sort of just die. And it's a kind of reassuring thing, and often when I talk to people in reading, if those spirits, the guides that weren't on the left side, they often appear. And who are these guides? Well, the guides, even if they're not grandparents, I don't usually get a name. And the thing is, a name isn't necessary. Because there's this idea of, to control spirits, you have to know their name. If you know their name, then you have the power of them. Rumpelstiltskin is a classic fairy tale story where to find out the name of this spirit or this person gives the control of everything else. Now, it doesn't quite work that way. For a start, so when you think of today with emails and mobile phones, if I have your email or your mobile phone, I can call you, but you can say, oh my God, it's Paul, don't want to talk to him. So even if I have your contact details, doesn't mean you're going to answer, doesn't mean you're going to reply. And it's the same with spirits. They have free choice. They can go anywhere they like, and as can we. So you might see them within, but we are infinite beings. An infinite being, where can an infinite being go? It's infinite. You can only have points in space, in infinite space, and in infinite space, any point is the center. So when we die, we no longer have a body, but we're a point or energy in space still, and we can go anywhere within that space. It's kind of, so the death change is no change. It's an interesting thing, is that, because if you think life is limited, you think consciousness is limited, if you think all these things, then when you die, that changes things. It only changes in the sense that the body's not there anymore. And if you have these views, you buy into these views, then you can think assassination's a good thing. In the United States, they have a long tradition of assassinating their presidents. Does the United States disappear? No, it's still there. Recently, the United States killed Osama bin Laden. Does that stop Al-Qaeda? Does that stop terrorism? No, still carries on. As Judeo-Christians, from this point of view, in our religion, we have this idea that Jesus died for us. So the Christian religion is based upon this man, the saviour of the world and everything else, dying. It's the whole point, but we still carry on. So this paradoxical thing about the death card is that, yes, it's death, it's transformation, yes, it's change, but it's continuity as well. So we can carry on. One way of looking at this card, death, is that, for me, when death should mean we live more. We enjoy our life more. Because, yes, one day we'll die. What happens is not about death, but what we do before we die. So, if you're having a tarot reading from a tarot reader who a bit fearful of death, and they're doing the 10-card Celtic Cross spread, and the death card appears in there, oh my God, and they say, oh, doesn't that be there? Yes, it does, because as a tarot reader who's using a 10-card spread, you've made it significant because you have to have the most significant cards there. that is what you've done. So, if you're having a reading, then you realise that even if they're charging money, they can't be that good a tarot reader because they don't even understand the odds of what having a card like this can mean. In another video, I'll actually talk about what is on this card. But for now, death can mean sex, death, and money. So out of 3 ain't bad. Let's go for the sex and money. Sounds more fun.